Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the conversation where we take everyday issues pervading throughout society and break them down for you to understand. Over the past few hundred years, you have democracy, Hollywood, 500 different types of serial, childhood obesity. The worst of them, however, is this concept called political correctness. Political correctness started around a few decades ago, where it was basically the concept of me speaking in such a way that doesn't hurt your political views. However, like most things, it has gotten a little extreme, where wokeness has become a big issue in modern society, and people have assimilated in this kind of woke mob where you either agree with them or you don't agree with them. I think political correctness may have gone a little too far when you're trying to cancel people like Mahatma Gandhi and Abraham Lincoln. And that is why it's an issue that we would like to address on today's podcast. So, welcome to the conversation. It's a podcast where we take everyday issues and break them down for college students to understand. Joining us today, we have Pranav Nambiar. Pranav is also a Jehin student. He is an MC, a sports commentator, and a trainer. He is an instructor at Helen O'Grady. He's also a freelancer. And I could probably read out the rest of his resume right now, but we have only 30 minutes for this podcast. So, welcome to the show, Pranav. Good to have you.
Great to be here, to be very honest with. Yes, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, Contrarian, for doing this during such difficult times, connecting like this and talking about something very meaningful. Something our generation doesn't do too much. Unless it's not 30 seconds long, it's not fun anymore, right? So it's good to see some people come connecting like this, putting in the effort to do something meaningful like this. So kudos to Team Contrarian.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that the reason that we started this was because there are issues that all of us are very passionate about, but there's no real good place to get that much information. So I guess what we want to do is have something where like people can just tune in and like kind of have a conversation with their friends about issues that personally pain them. And in fact, that brings us to our topic today, which is something that I'm passionate about personally, which is political correctness and cancel culture. So basically, what do you think about, like, you have literally every celebrity that has to apologize, that has to basically get into trouble some way or the other. And in fact, it was theorized before that every celebrity would have their 15 seconds of fame. But now, from what we've heard, what someone famously said, that every celebrity has their 15 seconds of shame. And do you think that it's a little too far when you start attacking people on your side, where you just take it to the extreme?
So Hriday started as very well rehearsed and very well prepared, insightful introduction with the word United States. वो सुन के मेरा Indian accent डर गया. But no, I mean, yes, he is right over there. I mean, a lot of things that we do are somewhere inculcated into our culture because the West was doing it, right? As far as my views on attacking people goes, uh, I'm a very peaceful person. Okay, I used to be very, so obviously when my friends would laugh at this. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about violence as in physical violence, but sometimes I feel that you don't need to attack people just because they think in a different way. The beauty of human society is that everyone is entitled to their own opinions on the basis of how they have led their lives. I cannot judge someone for the way they speak or for the words they use. It's okay. That person might not appeal to you. For example, if there is someone who speaks like he's from the 90s, right? I personally speak like I'm from the 90s sometimes, using words which are now deemed politically incorrect. I have the choice to choose the people I talk to. I have the choice to listen to the people I want to listen to. But I think you also have the choice to attack people and then face the consequences if there are any. So I personally think attacking is redundant. calling out people is necessary. If someone goes on a public platform again and again and they say things that are very hurtful to a lot of people, then you can probably call them out. Okay. But then again, the discussion comes to what exactly is hurtful and what exactly is not. And what is hurtful to you might not be hurtful to me. So, who gets hurt for it to become an issue? That's the biggest thing, right? According to me, if someone with an internet connection gets hurt, it's an issue. If I say something about someone and someone who gets hurt does not have a Twitter account or does not have a way to get his or her opinion to the public platform, there is absolutely nothing that can be done about their opinion nowadays, right? The reason people are getting cancelled and the woke culture is going, any sort of culture, the reason it's all booming is the internet. Okay, because now everyone's voice is heard. All you need is a decent internet connection in your house and you're good to go. So I personally believe that it's it's not fair, just because the upper echelon of society, who are influencers or who have a lot of followers, get hurt, that that person gets cancelled. The person who hurt them gets cancelled. What about the other people whose voices are not heard on the internet? So it's a sort of unfair system, right? Canceling someone. Like when you say, let's cancel this person. Right? Who gave you the right to do something? You are just saying that you don't like this person. For example, if I'm watching TV and I watch a show and I just find the show very offensive in many ways. Okay. Now I don't easily get offended. But being a South Indian, I hate South Indian stereotypes. I hate South Indian stereotypes, especially when they're done wrong. Okay, when from Tarak Mehta, if you have a year, he's supposed to be Tamil, but he speaks in Telugu. I won't say cancel Tarak Mehta for being racist. I'll just say that मैं कल से नहीं देखूंगा ये show. I will stop watching. That is what you do. You don't need to go and I dislike this. Now everyone should dislike this. That is the wrong attitude. Disliking, disagreeing is human nature. Spreading, widespread contempt and widespread antagonism against something, against someone's art, it's a misuse of power, according to me. It's completely. See, there are places where they do work out. There are places where people are rectifying themselves. People are being careful about what they say. I myself am a product of repetitive political rectifications wherein I have been using words that are deemed politically correct, because see, at the end of the day, you don't want to hurt a lot of people, right? The way you speak about, so even nowadays, if you say stuff like he was walking down the road, okay, there is a group of people that will get to you and like, who decided that the person's preferred pronoun was he, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't mean to harm. I didn't mean to hurt that person. For me, I've English is a second language for all of us, right? In Hindi, we would just say wo, ya ve. In irrespective of whichever gender they belong. My intention is not to hurt the person, his sexuality or his gender identity. See, again, over here I'm saying his instead of their, because that's just how I've grown up. Okay, and to fix that will take me some time. And now, luckily, I am just a middle class boy sitting over here. Until and unless I'm not a celebrity, I don't get called out, to be very honest. Okay, but there are people who do get called out as well. I think there was a YouTuber who recently said something extremely racist about an MP from a northeastern state, and just because that MP looked a certain way, he said a lot of racist things, and he got into trouble for that. People started calling him out, and then so there are two types of people who call people out and people who just join the bandwagon, hop into the bandwagon to look cool. The whole George Floyd thing that had happened, God rest his soul.
Oh yeah.
Everything that was happening, I had someone in my society, this 13-year-old girl, coming and saying that भैया आपने story नहीं डाला justice for George Floyd. And I'm like, हाँ नहीं डाला क्योंकि मेरे Instagram story से इतना impact नहीं पड़ने वाला. There's not going to be a much. No, like no, but you need to show that we are supporting the cause. And I'm like, what's the cause? Hate crimes ke khilaf khade rehna is the cause, right? I am always supporting that. It happens in my country every day. Just because that incident got
Exactly.
media backing, just because that incident got media backing, it blew up to such a level that if you're not posting a story, there's something wrong with you.
You're a racist.
People will assume, yeah, you're a racist or you're
Yeah.
someone who's or the most dangerous thing, the worst gali you can give someone today is that you're uninformed. When someone comes up to you and say, dude, you're so uninformed. You don't know this, you
Yeah.
don't know that, you don't know what's happening in the world. Oh, that's so offensive, right? When someone walks up to you and says you're uninformed, it's so offensive. So you just go and you just see what other people think rather than actually seeing what the news is. What happened in America was tragic. It has been happening since years. When were people there? When were people then?
Exactly.
Right? It's been happening since years. I mean, I was born in '99. I've heard so much. I've seen, and I'm a literature student, so I've read a lot about the Harlem Renaissance and the Afro-American literature movements and how people literally uplifted themselves in a country which they were forced into. The Afro-Americans were forced into America.
Yeah,
So
correct.
the way that the way they have transformed
Look at
themselves
Jim
over
Crow,
there,
look at
and
slavery.
the Jim Crow incident, everything. And the saddest part is that the United States of America is not the only place in the world where people were enslaved. And that is what I
Yeah.
always want to bring out to people. It's not the only place in the world where there are hate crimes.
In
It's not the
fact,
only place in the world where innocent people are losing lives. But
in
why do
fact,
people
yeah.
still only support and cancel things that happen there? If you have an opinion, it should be, common to everyone, common everywhere, right? So, canceling a lot of things, like cancel this particular singer because he is racist. Cancel this, cancel that. No, solve that, fix this, fix that. Don't cancel. Cancel is you walk up to someone and you say, oh, I'm not getting water anymore. Acha, cancel the water supply. No, you can't do that. Get the water supply from somewhere else. Canceling is just a lazy response, according to me. It shouldn't be canceling, it should be fixing. You have to fix what's going wrong. If you think racism is prevalent in the world, educate people. Tell them how, irrespective of which ethnicity you belong to, you're still the same person. Don't cancel people for being racist. Talk to them. Tell them that, listen, you're wrong, brother. And there's a reason they're racist. There is a reason. Racism is a very, 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 I'm talking about it because it's the most passionate thing I'm about. I'm not passionate about being a racist. See, again, if this was caught out of context,
Yeah.
then my career would have gone down the drain, right? I'm dead against racism. It's the worst thing that can happen, right? To hate your own kind just because they belong to a different ethnicity. There is some, reason that they're being hateful and spiteful and all of that. But Hriday, were trying to say a couple of things. I sort of started monologuing over there, but go for it, buddy.
No, all I wanted to say was that I think it's because you didn't upload that black square on your story that day that racism still exists.
Yes,
So that's totally on
yes,
you. That's racism hasn't existed.
yes.
Racism hasn't ended because of you. It's your fault.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And
that's
I had an argument with a lot of people. I had an argument with a lot of people who's like, we're showing our support.
there's
Show
no
your support
American
by
racist looking at your black square and going, oh yeah, shit, maybe I was wrong.
yeah.
Maybe
See, obviously, when the world speaks against something, see that's another thing that has happened. If you all have noticed, nowadays people don't take nonsense from other people. People don't take a tough time from other people. They call them out. They speak up. They put a Facebook post. They start a Twitter war. They start a trend. They do all of that compared to the earlier eras when internet was not a thing. Right? Nowadays, you'll see if the government or any authority figure in the world says something wrong, people are out on the streets, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. But it shouldn't get harmful. It gets harmful. Okay. Obviously, I'm not saying that all protesters are, all protesters who come and try to cancel people, or all protesters are the same. No, everyone has a different motive. At the end of the day, being a human, you just want your voice to be heard, right? But there is a difference between letting, wishing for your voice to be heard and then going and silencing someone else's. I know so many people who don't even get to defend themselves on the internet just because they had a
Yeah,
difference of opinion, right? And you saw that in America, right? When the riots broke out, there were people who were genuinely protesting against the atrocities that are committed against their people. Even in India, when the CAA riots were on, there were people who were genuinely protesting, and then there are the troublemakers who use this sort of as an advantage, and then they go and they ruin the name of protesters everywhere by spreading violence, hate, um, anti-police brutality and stuff like that. Everything that goes in, right? I think rather than pinpointing and nitpicking on the words people use, try and understand where they come from. Try and understand what they are feeling. Try and understand why that person said that, right? There are so many things that you can talk about in over here, and there's so many people who are genuinely at fault. Like there's many Bollywood actors who say things which are very derogatory to women, and it's not like they didn't mean it. They actually mean it. They're ignorant. They're not. They don't want to probably hurt someone. They're just ignorant. A homophobia is basically, yeah, a disagreement, or more than a disagreement. It is a form of hate. It is a social evil that needs to go. It needs to go. Why? Because at the end
for
of the day, as
sure.
I said, if I'm against racism, I'm against sexism, and I'm against homophobia. Because at the end of the day, it is treating another fellow human being different. You can be of whatever gender, you can be of whatever sexuality, but if you are a human being and you are being treated differently, I'm against it. Okay. Homophobia is a legitimate thing. There are
So,
people who are severe. Yes, yeah, go for it.
no, in fact, what I'm talking about is that when
Mhm.
you have someone who's yours on your side, someone who actually supports the rights of the LGBTQ community, take someone like J.K. Rowling, for example, who
Yeah.
came under a lot of fire, was called transphobic because she said that she
Yeah.
believed that there are two genders. Essentially, that was what she said. She said, in fact, she didn't even say that. She said that biological sex is a reality. That was the point she was trying to make. And because of that one viewpoint, she's now labeled transphobic. Now, I completely agree with you when you said that homophobia is a real thing. But when you go around labeling everyone a homophobic, then the actual homophobic people pretty much get a cover to excuse their actions. And I really think this is doing more harm than good to society.
So, in a way, Hriday, over here, it does show. So, for example, now if I'm just, let's say I'm an average person with an internet connection, and I'm reading people get hate for using certain words. Okay. Facebook 2014, 2013. If you go and check the kind of posts that used to come up over there, they were very, very, like, they would use very homophobic words, right? Like um, using words, like, using the word homo itself was an insult, which is very wrong, which is
Yeah,
very wrong, right? But even when we were teenagers and we would use that word as an insult, we innocently didn't mean any disrespect to the LGBTQ community. But now we realize that it's bad to do all those things. So we stopped. And I kind of have the internet to thank for that. If it weren't for the internet, I wouldn't realize, I wouldn't get the chance to go and educate myself. This is a very important phrase that I'm using, which is very, very, very important. Go and educate yourself. It's, go and educate yourself is a very, very important term. It's not about, because everything is out there. If you want to fix a couple of views that you think are problematic, or if you think are backwards, you can make your way to the internet. You can listen to speakers. You can listen to other people's opinions. You can tune into such podcasts where people will change the way you think. but you need to make that first step. You need to be patient enough to go there and change your opinion. Reading one person's tweet or story shouldn't impact your mentality. It should be more than that. You have to dig deeper. Okay. I have always read that homophobia is bad, or any form of hate crime is bad. But when I read more about it, when I read about a lot of instances, when I saw a lot of instances on social media, when I saw multiple posts and articles, that gave me the chance to educate myself. And when people like J.K. Rowling go out there and say that there are only two biological genders or sexes or whatever, it just shows which era she comes from. She's not a Gen Z born in 2001 or anything like that, right? She is still, she's old. J.K. Rowling's old. I don't know how old she is, but she's old. She's probably in
In her
her
50s.
late 50s or 60s. Yeah, she's old. I know for a fact that, I mean, I don't know her personally, but calling someone homophobic or transphobic, it's a very big tag. Calling someone homophobic or transphobic on the basis of a tweet, it's a very, very, very big tag, right? Like, just like we were discussing, if let's say Hriday didn't post a story supporting Black Lives Matter, वो racist हो गया. How can you give someone such a big tag on the basis of one thing or one story they said? And there are so many celebrities who come out and they say that, how can I be homophobic? I have done so and so and so and so and so for the LGBTQ community. I have done so and so and so and so for this, for that, for this. And then it becomes a matter of defending themselves. But it's too late because people only want to see attack. No one wants to see defense. Very honestly, I have barely seen defensive Twitter posts or defensive responses ever get enough traction. The biggest cancel culture incident that, according to me, had happened on YouTube was when Logan Paul got cancelled. Right?
Oh yeah.
If yeah, Logan Paul and the
Yeah.
whole the incident, the Japan forest incident, Japan, if I'm not mistaken, and how
Yeah. The
Logan Paul
suicide
very
forest.
insensitively made fun of very very deep and serious concepts. I think in a way there are two ways of looking at it. Number one is that the millions of people, and I don't use this word lightly, the millions of people, and most of them being 13, 12-year-old teenagers who follow Logan Paul, now know the repercussions of being insensitive, which is very good. It is very, very, very good. I'd
Correct.
say go and give Logan a pat on the back. That it's kind of like he made the mistake, but a lot of people learned from it. Obviously, you can. I mean, it's very wrong. What he did is very wrong. You can't correct that. But he became an example for all those kids who are like, oh my God, if you speak like this or if you think like this is a kind of repercussion. And a lot of people came out with videos telling people exactly what was it that was wrong, which helps people educate themselves, which is a good thing. The dark side of that is canceling someone. He came out with an apology video, I remember, in which he started crying and all of that, which also got a good amount of traction and all of that. He came out with an apology video, but people didn't give him a chance. So he went underground for a while, right? That doesn't mean, as I said, what he did was wrong. He apologized for it. If it still doesn't make up for it, for some people, cool. Don't watch his content. Don't watch his content. If that apology didn't make it up to you, don't watch his content. But you don't have to cancel him. It's like how if your house, you're the only person who likes fish, and then everyone else in the house hates seafood. And they say, because all of us hate seafood, let's never cook seafood. Even you will never cook seafood. It's not like we will not cook seafood for you. It's you will not buy your food yourself and you won't take it to the pan yourself and you won't cook it yourself. Nothing. This seafood will never enter this house. It's kind of like that. It takes away your freedom of speech, right? If I am, let's say, following someone, for example, a lot of footballers get cancelled from time to time. Mesut Ozil spoke out against a lot of Islamophobic people and a lot of anti-Islamic movements going around all over the world. Mesut Ozil is a former German national player. He's a legend in his own right, a former Arsenal player. Okay. When Mesut Ozil spoke about those things, a lot of people in England were cancelling him. A lot of people were coming out and saying that Mesut Ozil is anti-national. He's a traitor to Germany because he's ethnically Turkish. So a lot of people in Germany started burning his effigies, which is very dark when you think of it. Just because you
Wow.
disagree with a person. Movie, and I'm like, I hated this movie. तू भी मत देखना ये. तू भी मत देखना ये. अच्छा ये movie ये तो देखना ही मत. It's that culture. When I don't like a movie and someone comes and asks me, "Did you like that movie? Should I watch it?" I said, "I didn't like that movie, but I think you should watch it and form an opinion of it, rather than just hopping into my bandwagon." And that is
Yeah.
where I think our generation should take the responsibility of forming our own opinions rather than just following what is cool. Maybe like I have a lot of opinions which don't match the wavelengths of those opinions don't match with other people in my generation, right? Even when it comes to cancel culture, some people might support it for all you know. Some people might support being politically correct. So do I. Yes, be politically correct. But I think when it comes to certain places, you can give people that sort of you can give them a break, especially when it's in music and stuff like that.
This is the end of part 1 of episode 2 on the conversation. Please tune in for our next episode.